Bill the Air. Noticed a phenomenon recently. Well, it's been, I shouldn't say recently, in the last few years. I'm getting old. Recent is in the last few years to me now. Actually, the last several years. I grew up, and a lot of people my age grew up, we beat the crap at each other in high school. And just out of high school, well, people would, if somebody mouthed off to you, you'd smack them. If you mouthed off to somebody, they'd do something. It could even be kind of accidental or innocent, but you learn respect. People stood up for their own dignity, and they don't do that now because you get thrown in jail for it, you know. Somebody can do the most awful thing that you could imagine with their mouth. They can slander you, they can cause trouble, they can be really malicious, and you give them a fat lip. They'll run and tell the police and you go to jail for years. Used to be just, you know, time served and $200, you know, a weekend in jail and a few $100 if you give somebody a bloody nose if they asked for it. Judges used to be reasonable. Now, oh, we have to stop violence. They have extreme violence to stop violence, the violence of being put in prison. So things have changed. That is a necessary social function that's been taken away from us. People used to be a lot more polite, and they used to pick up signals a lot better. That's where I'm going with this. This generation now, young men that I work around and see, they don't pick up signals at all. They'll get punky, and they'll get arrogant, and they'll actually even threaten you because the threat's not real. They're not going to fall through. They just don't. Most of them haven't even seen any real violence. I mean, it depends on the area you're at, but because if you pop somebody, they run to the police and ruin your life. They used to never do that. That hardly ever happened. And if somebody mouthed off and somebody popped them and they called the cops, they'd be a para. But now they'll push it. And if you don't have the marker, they look at markers. They look at external markers. Like somebody has a green mohawk and tattoos on their face, and they're really fat. And there's some sort of, like, they can't decide whether they're a punk rocker or a biker. Oh, yeah, that's a badass. Really? Somebody like me can't be. But they'll get mouthy and stuff, and you give them a warning, and it's like they don't have a clue. They think there's nothing you could do to them because you can't hit them because you go to jail. It's a whole different world. I very seldom had to get physical with people growing up, and even in the 80s and 90s, very, very seldom did. Because if they really push things too far and it got to where it's going to have to go there, I would say that's a real bad idea. You need to get away from me right now. And their eyes would get big and they get the freaking hell away from me. I guess there's a certain charm or something that works. They picked up the signal. They knew it could get real serious. These people nowadays, they don't read that at all. You might as well just be quacking like a duck to them. It just rolls right off of them. And so society just gets cruder and cruder and cruder and cruder, and you got to put up with more and more and more unless you want to go to prison. Or unless you're really smart and find ways of doing things without getting in trouble, which there's an art to that too, and it can happen. Some of these people are so damn dumb you can pull them right into a trap and they wouldn't even know it. But I digress. My point is, you could call it respect, but it's beyond respect. It's the ability of people to read signals. And the lack of low-level violence has ruined that. They still got it in Russia. You walk around in Russia, and it's not every week, but in my neighborhood, pretty frequently you'd see some guy, maybe even somebody you knew or slightly knew, walk by, and today he's got a shiner and a fat lip. And he got a little carried away, and somebody corrected him the hard way. Still happens there. And they don't go call the police. This is a place, what'd you say that for? Yeah. They'd laugh at you in a lot of cases. They have rule of law there, but it's kind of like the rule of law was in the U.S. back in the 50s and 60s and most of the 70s. I remember those times. Self-correcting social order. Organic social order. It works. Yeah, it works a lot better than centralized government. Anyway, I'm kind of all over the place with this, but we'll talk more about this later. I'll expand on it. This is just a short one. Low-level social violence did serve a function. Not indiscriminate, not living in a horribly violent society. And there are some cultures that are like that. There are places where, you didn't want to be. But the complete elimination of it has cost something. Bill Lee signing out.